All right, everyone. It is Friday, and that means we are back again with the Manufacturing Ecommerce Success Series. I am one of your co-hosts, Damon Pistolka, and usually we have Mr. Kurt Anderson over there by himself, but we've got Kurt with our guest today, Rosemary Ravinal, and
we're really physically here.
That's right.
yeah, they're physically together. It's like it's freaking me out a little bit, but I'm over it and we're ready to go. So
Ready to rock
Kurt,
and roll.
take it away, man. We're going to be talking about mastering the art of nonverbal communication. So let's get rolling.
Hey, let's dig right in. So first off, happy Friday, man. It's just, it's post Groundhog's Day. So Damon, did you survive your Groundhog's Day? I know that's a big event, big day for you, right?
I did.
Okay, well, good. And I'm not sure if you saw his shadow. I missed that yesterday. I need to keep up on that.
We're having more bad weather. Bad weather.
Okay, well, hey, where we're at, like winter doesn't exist. So, and that excuse us, like we're in a public place, like people might walk in. We have Pac-Man over our shoulder. So, all right, guys. So let's do a quick introduction. Anybody out there, drop a note. Let us know that you're there. We absolutely would love to invite you, welcome you to connect with our dear friend, Rosemary Ravinal. She is a presenting, public speaking coach, guru, diva, you name it. She's all the above. Rosemary, Happy Friday. How are you?
Thank you. Happy Friday. I'm delighted to be here with you. And I know that our conversations are always wonderful and we tend to run out of time. So that's right. I'm all yours.
So, hey, Damon, repeat offender here. So Rosemary was on the program last year. I know she was on Faces of Business with you. She's just dynamo. I know the chat box was on fire last year when just tons of just great tips, strategies. She has a amazing, incredible newsletter that comes out, and I strongly encourage, welcome everybody. You want to sign up for Rosemary's newsletter. We're going to talk about the one that she came out this week. But Rosemary, I want to start things off. When you were on the program last year, I did not ask you this question, so we're going to kick off things with a question. When you were a little girl growing up, who was your hero? Who was your hero when you were a little girl growing up?
Oh, we didn't rehearse this question.
I know.
Oh.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Came with a slider on that one, Damon.
Yeah.
Who was your hero as a little girl growing up?
Oh, God, this is a tough question. Okay, I grew up in Cuba until I was 7.5.
Yep.
So I have to do sort of a bicultural split here.
Let's do it.
But most of my sort of the age of age of awareness would be like in my early teens, like 11, 12. I would say Audrey Hepburn.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What a great, that's a first, Audrey.
That is a first.
Excellent answer.
Because I loved movies, and she was always this elegant, but very herself. I mean, she played parts, but she was there's always a part of Audrey in everything she did. And she always looked magnificent. And iconic. There was no one who looked anything like her. So I would say, and this, I don't know where I dug it out from, but I think it's a real sincere answer because I hadn't given it thought, but I think that those spur the moment, like you don't plan it. It just comes out spontaneously. That's my final answer.
Audrey Hepburn, man. My first thought is on Golden Pond. I don't know if anybody remembers that one. I think it was an Oscar winner, so that was a phenomenal movie. So Audrey, that was a great answer, Damon. That was the first time that we had Audrey Hepburn on the program.
Then that was Jane Fonda in.
It was Jane Fonda
and her father.
And wasn't she the wife in that? Was Audrey Hepburn? Wasn't she?
No, I don't think so.
Wasn't she the wife in the
on Golden Pond?
Yeah,
I don't think she was in it.
Let's
do a quick.
All right, we'll have to do a Google search, Damon.
Search.
So check that out. All right, so let's keep moving forward. So as we dig in today, so we're going to talk about how to your presenting skills and also like nonverbal skills. So, Rosemary, let's just go right there. Let's just dig in and start talking. Let's start thinking about like some of the tips, strategies that you present to your clients and how you can communicate better on non-language.
Well, because, we speak before we speak.
Yeah.
We speak before we speak. Let that sink in.
How about that one, Damon? We speak before we speak.
Before we say a word, we're speaking, because everything about us says something about who we are, what we stand for. And we are walking brands. So we have to be really conscious, what I call conscious communication.
Yeah.
What we say with our words needs to be obviously impeccable and very thoughtful. But the way we show up, in this rectangle, the way we show up in a meeting, the way we interact with other human beings, all of that sends signals. And I call them charisma signals, which really, they telegraph out who we are. And a lot of it is basic respect in terms of what we're taught as children, to listen, to not speak out of turn, to respect elders, and the same kind of lessons in life can be applied to the fundamentals of speaking before we speak. The most the example that I could give is, remember we talked about tilting and nodding of the head. Very simple signals such as tilting your head when you're listening gives the signal that you are paying attention, that you are being considerate, that you are interested in what's being said. And this is a very important signal in video conferencing, because obviously we're in a sterile environment. We're only dealing with two senses, right? Sight and sound. But to have that extra accent of someone tilting the head to say, I hear you. It's an empathetic gesture. Similarly, the nodding, which we know is usually a sign of agreement, doesn't have to be agreement. It just also means I'm listening, I'm with you, I'm following you. And those are two very, what I call micro gestures that have tremendous power.
I've got a question, because I'm ready for this one today, Kurt. This is like usually I say like four things in the whole thing, but one of my habits, and I wonder if this looks bad, is because when I'm listening to somebody, I tend to get like this once in a while. I get my face like 2 inches from my camera because I'm trying to listen intently. Is on video, is that freaky, or is that, is it okay? Because then I look at it and I go, oh man, I can't, and I back off like that. But because video is a little different, but I don't know if that's wrong, or I just like to listen.
It doesn't look good, Damon. It doesn't look good because everything on camera is magnified.
Yeah.
Right? In a physical space, first of all, there's more distance between other people, right? Yeah. Depending on the culture that you're in, right? Sometimes you have to be at a farther distance. In some others, like Latin cultures, you can be a little closer. But on video, it looks like you're imposing, like you're trying to take over. It's a wonderful gesture to use when I want to make a real important point. I might come close to the webcam. And remember to drink your milk and brush your teeth. So it's those moments where we want to put emphasis, underscore, highlight, when we can use that gesture. But to listen, I would say it's not your best choice. What have you been told? Have people given you feedback?
No, I haven't gotten feedback on it before, but I catch myself like this on the screen, and I'm like, oh man, that's rude,
I do the same thing, Damon. So all right, let's keep rolling with this on some more tips. But I want to dig into Rosemary here for a second on her background. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned, so we're here with Rosemary Ravinal. Boy, do yourself a favor. You absolutely want to connect with Rosemary on LinkedIn. You want to follow her newsletter. Now, she has this illustrious, amazing, incredible career. I believe MSNBC.
Yes, I was a contributor for MSNBC during its first 2 years.
Yeah, and
that was a remarkable experience. I was working very actively. I was really known as a Hispanic communicator, and I was their first official Latina. And that was not only a great opportunity as a communicator, but it also allowed me to voice different viewpoints based on how the news was impacting the Hispanic community.
Right. So Damon, pioneer, smashing ceilings, just, really a blessing for us to spend time with Rosemary, and just, what she's gone through, work with numerous corporate. I know we've talked last time, like Avon, AT&T, just kind of a who's who list of clients that she's worked with. Now, we were talking before we went live, you have a great story, so all this great corporate Univision, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
And she became an entrepreneur right before COVID 3 years ago. So I'd love for you to share a little bit. So, we have folks that come in the program that maybe they're marketers, they work for different companies, and they're like, you know what, at some point in time, I wouldn't mind tipping my toe in entrepreneurship. So 3 years ago, you've had this long career. What was that like?
Most of my career was spent either being a spokesperson for a company. Mm-hmm. I hosted, as you mentioned, MSNBC. I hosted some public affairs shows in New York. I did a lot of radio as well and produced radio. Mm-hmm. But the bulk of my years as a professional have been spent working as a corporate communications leader at companies like AT&T and Avon and A&E History Channel. And I've been advisor to companies like Toyota. Mm-hmm. I've worked for large agencies as well. So, but I was always doing the bidding for someone else. Mm-hmm. The last role that I'm very grateful to have held, I was VP of Public Relations for Univision, which is the largest Hispanic entertainment company in the world. Mm-hmm. Now it's known as Televisa Univision because they merged. But when my term expired there, I didn't want to go back to doing more of the same. Mm-hmm. I felt it was time to actually use my own voice, to find my own voice, to help other people find theirs. And I had been collecting over the years tons of books and video and all kinds of, I'd gone to training courses about effective communication. But not taking it really seriously. I would use that information to teach my clients, my in-house clients, and to help others in my organization. But I always was a little bashful about going off on my own and doing it as a public speaking coach. But then I said, it was mid-2019. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I already had amassed tremendous amount of reference material. I was ready. So I started coaching individuals and keynoters. I was working with a speakers bureau. And then, of course, everything changed in March of 2020. So it was there's no turning back now because I'm 3 years in and loving what I'm doing and finding that no matter how much someone knows, there's always something you can up-level. Mm-hmm. And even the most experienced speakers, CEOs, chairs of boards need that extra help. Mm-hmm. And because they can't be their own critic, you have to have another point of view, another set of eyes and ears. To give you feedback, because what they do is high stakes. Mm-hmm. It can change the stock price, right? Yeah. It can either help you retain employees or lose them, right? It can ruin a reputation, and it can cost you your own career in that company. So there's a lot at stake every time we speak.
Oh my God! All right, a few things I want to uncover. Yeah. So Rosemary finds her voice to help others kind of exploit theirs, right? And I'll tell you, Damon, when you think about it, you can even be a little bit, I don't know how you feel about this. Like you can almost be, a little bit, not the sharpest tool in the shed, if you will. Right. But when you command yourself as a presence and just come across authoritative, and it just you give people just that confidence, all right. Oh my gosh, this is so good. I want to cover, you have a quote from Warren Buffett. Do you have a?
Yes. I have, let me paraphrase. He says that you can have the greatest brain power in the world. And if you don't know how to transmit it, then it's useless. Right. And the transmission is communication. Right. So if you can't get it from your head through your mouth, or albeit, let's not exclude other forms of communication like writing, or photography, or other arts forms. Right. If you can't transmit it to other human beings, then it's just stuck there. It doesn't serve anyone. Right. So he sees that as a fundamental trait of leaders. Right.
And I think it's Warren Buffett. It takes a lifetime to earn trust. It can take a millisecond to destroy that trust. And when you think of Warren Buffett's career, when he resurrected the stock market, back in the day, when it was crashing and what have you. But so when you think about the benefits that you can have by just commanding that presence, and even when we're talking to our manufacturers here, I think Val's here today. We've got Diane Beyer. So any of the manufacturers that are out there, they might hey, wait a minute, I'm really not doing my public speaking, but boy, when you get a brand new RFQ, when somebody drops a note and says, hey, I want to send you a drawing, I have an RFP, and get that company on a Zoom as soon as possible. And so, Rosemary, let's start going into. I love that. Like she had a phenomenal newsletter, and I'm telling you, like I read her newsletter religiously every time it comes out. It's when it hits my inbox, I'm like, I need to stop, focus. Rosemary speaking, and this is like learning time. You had a great newsletter this week, and if I have it correct, it was like 9 myths of so we're gonna bust some presentation. Yeah. So Damon, we're gonna do a little pop quiz, dude. I know like you're not, guys, for everybody out there, Damon's not 100% today. Thank you for being with us today, Damon. You're a trooper. But we're gonna do a little quiz. How about that? Let's do a little.
Let's go.
We're gonna do a little true and false quiz today. And she has some hysterical. I love the first one. Let's go. Can we get into the first one?
The first one. This is a true or false is the answer. 1 or 4. True or false is the answer.
Yep.
Now the question is: it is a good idea to visualize your audience naked in order to cure your fear of public speaking.
Damon, is that true or false? So if you're standing in front of a crowded room, couple hundred people, and you're just, butterflies are just flying, and you have a great line about butterflies too.
I would say false. I've never tried to do that, and I just think it's weird in my mind.
Bravo. You're right.
Good answer. And tell them why.
Yes, it is. It's this sort of axiom that's come about, and maybe from maybe the last century, or I don't know. Couldn't find the origin of
probably
it.
Guys, some like goofy guys, I'm sure, went there, right, Damon?
And sort of stuck, right? It became sort of like the thing about, envision everybody like in different states of disrobing so that you feel like you are more powerful, more important than they are. You're making them vulnerable. What a horrible thing to do to your audience. Right. First, it is, you said, it's preposterous, it's ridiculous, Damon. Second, it's disrespectful to your audience.
Yeah.
You are there to benefit them. Listen to me. Most people think that we speak in public to benefit ourselves, to sort of, to polish our ego.
Right.
No. And that's what happens very often, why people fail when they speak. They're thinking about themselves. You're not the audience. The people who are listening to you are the audience. So if you're not respecting them by seeing them as whole people, they're seated, eager to hear what you have to say, and the ones who will determine if you succeed or you fail. So how are you going to envision them naked? That's wrong. So scratch that one off. Let's just kill that myth.
I'm glad. You know what? We're making it official, Damon. Here, February 3rd, 2023. It is that's no longer a tactic as a public speaker.
Yes,
go that route, right? So we're getting that out. Share another one with us.
Sure. Another one is that if you eliminate all the filler words, all the the fluffy, unnecessary, the things that we hear every day in common speech. You even hear them when there's media interviews.
Right.
The ums and the ah, and it's like, and and I mean. These are almost like a virus. They just permeate our speech everywhere. You see it sometimes more often in certain generations than others. Well, those filler words were sometimes called word whiskers. Word whiskers. I don't know who coined that, but
word whisker. I like that.
Cute way to remember them. Many people ask me, well, I want to, when we start doing the initial intake for a coaching session, I want to eliminate my filler words. And okay, so are people who don't use filler words at all, are they better speakers than those who do? It's a trick question, Damon.
Uh-oh. We're going to play the Jeopardy music, Damon.
Well, I don't know. Completely eliminating them probably makes your speech sound kind of funny, but if I'm going I mean that gets me. I purposely used to listen to my videos and that's one of my words is take the time to put the pauses in rather than fill it with filler words.
You're an advanced speaker. Yes. So it is false. There's a so-called ratio of how many filler words a professional presenter will use. And it's typically 1 or 2 every minute. But that shouldn't be the hallmark. because it's what you're communicating. The substance of what you have to share that matters. Of course, you don't want to have someone saying every other sentence, because that's distracting. But a few filler words, and you said earlier when you were answering me, Damon, many people are particularly hyper-focused because there's been such a lot of talk about filler words show that you're not smart. Filler words show that you're not focused. Filler words make you an amateur. This has to be a balance, right? Normal speech, you do use some filler words. And sometimes you look at words that you repeat. And words, for example, sometimes I use the word right after I say something, right? And if I do that very too many times, it starts to become a filler word for me. So you got the answer right, Damon. He's doing 2-0.
Hey, dude, you're 2-0, man.
And I didn't even study.
You didn't even study. So let's dig into another. What's one that might let's get a stumper for Damon. Do you have like a really good myth that might kind of throw him off?
Yes. Okay. This is one from the newsletter. Good speakers are born, they're not made.
False.
He's too good.
Drop the mic, brother. Man, you're on fire, Damon. You are on fire.
With me, it's like leaders, right? Good leaders aren't born; they're developed. And speaking is like any other skill, like working out. I think, anyway.
It's essential to leadership. It is essential to leadership, and we're seeing that more often now, where we have a lot of data from Gartner and Center for Leadership. Numerous studies from Harvard Business Review has published several. Our friend Dory has also talked about, Dory Clark talked about the importance of good communication as one of the top traits that are sought in future C-suite. So if there is a recruitment campaign for a senior position in a company, the soft skills are now getting more weight and more importance than the technical skills. So it's fundamental to managerial ability. Right. So it surpasses a lot of the other resume qualifications. To answer the question, yes, speakers are not born, they're made. It's parallel to leadership. But what's important is when people say, "Oh, he was born with the gift of gab." Oh, he can talk up a storm. He can start talking to a stranger and engage in 30 seconds. Okay, that may be good for some things, but what's the substance that you're communicating? And just gabbing, just chatting for the sake of talking is not necessarily what we seek in business. So yes, some people maybe have more of what we call extroverted qualities, and feel more comfortable among a lot of people and have less of a filter between themselves and others. But it really has to be learned. And it's the kind of thing you do with practice, with good counsel, with good coaching, with understanding of the dynamic of how you communicate is two-way. And you're there to serve your audience, not the other way around.
So let's go here, Damon. I'm picturing, you've shared your background, your history, great career in manufacturing, and you've had some like tough moments, tough occasions where you have to address the crowd. Okay, so then I'm going off script. So I'm just as you're talking, say you're delivering bad news, and you're Damon, you've been there, right? Where it's coming down on general manager or what have you. Like it is what it is. We don't have good news. Do you have any tips, suggestions for a manufacturer that's out there and maybe some event has occurred, whether an unfortunate thing, maybe it's business wise or whatever,
Well, that speaks to more of a crisis communication approach, but which I've also done many times in my career. But the spokesperson, the leader, the individual who's delivering the news should be at the highest level possible to begin with, right? Who is where the buck stops. And it should always include what's in it for the audience. What is the impact on the people sitting in front of you? You might talk about initiatives and about expansion and about market fluctuation and all these things. But what people really want to hear about is what's going to happen to my family, to me. Am I going to be able to put food on my table? What is my job security? So you have to address those points with empathy, with empathy and with charismatic signals. Say, what I talked about earlier about the tilting of the head, about using a smile periodically to welcome everyone, to signal. Again, I use the word telegraph because you're not using words and sounds, but you're letting them know that that we're all in this together. That this is not me, you, or management and employees, and that this is something that collectively we all have a stake in. So empathetic communication has to do a lot with choice of words, and that's a whole other discussion for another day. But there is a lot that is really incumbent on that individual delivering the news, the bad news, that can be done by nature of that awareness of how you're coming across. Maybe not standing at a podium, maybe sitting down at the same level as everybody else. So you're one of them, right? Not having a script, but maybe having just a few bullet point notes.
Right, coming from the heart.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And you can use all the filler words you want because it's the substance and the outcome. What is the effect? What is the transformation that you've achieved in the people you're talking to?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. Okay, so I went, Damon, I try to be Mr. Half Full, Mr. Positive. I went like, okay, hey, if there's bad news, so let's flip the script, okay? Somebody's out there like, I want to step up my game. Man, Rosemary, I'm totally digging this. I'm enjoying what you're saying. I want to get more intentional to be a better communicator, more positive. I want to have that contagious enthusiasm without being, too over the top. But how do you really kind of like, for someone that's maybe on the introverted side, how can you come in with like a positivity and a contagious enthusiasm to kind of step up their speaking game?
That could be a whole other.
We're gonna have her back for another.
Yeah.
It starts with, let me back up using the analogy.
Hey, we've got company.
Yeah.
We're in a hotel.
Yeah.
If we were, that's enthusiasm.
That's contagious enthusiasm right there.
Awesome.
If we had, there's a pill that I could give you that made you a better speaker, right? It's way too easy, but there's no magic pill.
Yeah.
It is more like the weights that you use in a gym. You've got to keep using them. You have to keep exercising your speaker muscle. So it's not like, give me one coaching session and I'll be transformed. No, you have to continue to practice it. I have to practice it. Professional speakers have to practice. And professional speakers speak to other professional speakers to get the feedback as to whether they're doing it correctly or not, given the audience that they're intending to talk to. So it's not the pill. There's no magic pill. And I forgot the question you were asking.
Yeah. No, this is like that enthusiasm.
The introverted.
Yeah.
I have another simple answer. Love what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And love the audience.
Love the audience.
So often we talk as if we have to, right? We load up the talk with big words, and we forget that we have to actually believe in what we're saying. I've got to love what I'm talking about because that transmits. If I'm not into it, if I'm not feeling it, it's not going to be believable. So credibility, clarity, consistently achieved are so important. And you have to do this time and time and time again, not just put on an act for one situation.
Right.
So love what you're talking about. Love your audience. Love being there. It is contagious, totally contagious. Now, introverts, there's another myth about that. Barack Obama is an introvert. Elon Musk is an introvert. Warren Buffett is an introvert. But they're among the most quoted, respected speakers. I don't know about Elon these days.
Yeah.
But the point is that you work through it because it's not about the fear of being in front of an audience. It's where you recharge your battery. Where you go to develop ideas, to formulate your words, your just find your inspiration. Where's your muse? Where's your muse? And sometimes the muse is in being in a quiet space, meditating, taking a walk in nature, swimming, doing some sport, but being by yourself perhaps. But others just thrive on the action of being always around people, and that's fine too. Then there is the middle ground, the quasi, there's a term, extrovert. I'm forgetting the word. There's a term for the one in the middle where you straddle.
Okay.
And that's fine too, because it may be situational, where you find that you can perform better if you go to a quiet space. So introversion isn't always, and there's a spectrum of introversion and extroversion. So you can be mildly introverted, where, for example, in my case, I actually work in both spheres, but I like that quiet time. But I also thrive in front of an audience. I'm so happy that now I'm getting to talk to people live.
In person.
Because that dynamic is to me totally energizing. I love it.
Man, this is so good. So, and so Rosemary, we've been longtime friends. And so this is great. Like, we finally get together in person. And so this is a gift. And we were talking about a quote earlier from, we were talking about Tony Robbins.
Yes.
And Damon, I just wanted to share real quick. So I'm probably going to butcher the story, but I want to emphasize what you just said here, Rosemary. It's just so powerful. I was listening to a podcast. It was Tony Robbins. And I believe that, Damon, we listened to Ed Milet, and he was on Ed Milet's podcast. And I think it was just last week or a couple weeks ago. And he shared a story that younger man, he was in his 20s, and if I'm probably going to butcher this, he was going to his class reunion, and he was like all wound up, and like, there was going to be some like he'll revisit bullies or like bad memories from when he was in high school, and now and it's even in his 20s, Tony Robbins is already kind of on his way for success, and he was on his way, and he called his mom and said, "Hey, I'm going to my reunion, and I'm kind of flustered or this that," and she goes, "What's your problem?" She's like, "It's not about you. Like, just go there and like, just love them. Like, you don't need to be interesting, be interested." And like, I hope I had that close, but it was just so powerful. And it just emphasizes what you just said. Like, it doesn't matter if it's an audience of 1, audience of 10, audience of 100. When you come in and you just come in with that enthusiasm to just love the audience, and like you said, love your topic, love what you're talking about. Man, it's just a game changer. So this is,
and that applies to manufacturing and to e-commerce, every field. I mean, this is sort of a universal law. Tony has a quote, which is a bit of a generality, that the quality of your life is equal to the quality of your communication. And if you let that sink in, and you say, well, the quality of your life is the quality of your communication. He uses it also as an umbrella concept to talk, the way we talk to ourselves, the way we talk to our loved ones, the way we talk to people external to our work, everyone we talk to, but it also starts with oneself, the way that self-talk. But yes, communication is everything. And it shows up in so many places that wise people, wisdom teachers are always telling us about communication, and we don't take it very seriously, because another thing that we do, and this is maybe another true and false question for you, Damon.
You ready?
Okay. Great presentations have to have dazzling visuals.
No. False.
He's too good.
Dude, you're 4-0. Like, Damon's 4-0 today.
Actually, I really feel the best presentations are from people that know the subject well enough that if you have to put up slides, better if you can explain it without slides. If you need a visual or two just to spark the thought, that's because when you see somebody doing a presentation and it's bullet point after bullet point after bullet point, you just want to, you want to throw up and run out of the room crying.
That's by PowerPoint, right?
Yeah. But it really is a passionate speaker that knows what they're talking about, that can really help. What you said earlier, love the audience and what you're talking about. When you feel that from the speaker, doesn't matter if they've got visuals.
Yes. But it is so prevalent that, and people I coach come to me with these, 500 words on a PowerPoint slide. I'm exaggerating, but it feels that way. And it could just as well be 500 because you can't read them anyway.
Yeah.
And they are somehow, I don't know where, if this is in grad school or MBA programs, I don't know who's teaching them this.
Right.
But they have this false notion that they have to have all this guck in a slide in order for them to read it, for them to be successful in a presentation. And I'm trying to flip, the whole concept over, and it's very difficult for them to let go, to just really prepare themselves to know the topic. And I like to use the analogy of you as the presenter are the lead singer, and the slides are your backup. They're the backup. They're going the doo wop, doo wop, doo wop, doo wop, and you're doing the whole, the whole song. Right. And if you look at it that way, then you could still sing the song without the backup singers. Right. And that's something we need to work towards, because there may be situations, particularly in sales, where you're going someplace and you don't control all of the aspects of, like today, we don't know if somebody's going to be coming in the door and behind us, to be ready to do it without slides. Right. Just talk it through. Right. Yes. And don't be so dependent on your dazzling presentations. People spend fortunes on their audiovisual. Would be a keynote, PowerPoint, Prezi or whatever you use. And it's important to have great visuals. If you're going to have them, might as well have them well designed. But in that design process, make it as economical as possible to just give you that punch that it maybe helps you bridge into your next idea.
And so the thing, Damon, I think it looks like the chat bot's going. We got Christina here. Val's here today, Diane. So guys, happy Friday.
Get back to the top here. Yeah, we got Diane.
And boy, do yourselves a favor, connect here with Rosemary Ravinal. Just Damon, this week, hey Whitney, depending on when anybody's catching this, but Tom Brady retired once again, right? And greatest hey Paul, thanks for joining us today. And greatest football player, almost unarguably, right? He's played the game. And when you think about a guy like Tom Brady, he had a head coach, he had an offensive coordinator, he had a quarterbacks coach, he had impact with the running backs coach, he was part of the offensive line, he had an offensive line coach, he had a tight ends coach, he had a wide receiver coach. Like, why does Tom Brady need 8 different coaches? You know what I mean? Golfers, Tiger Woods, I know I'm probably dating myself there, like they have multiple coaches. So the thing is, like we can say like, well, wait a minute, I'm this age. Why do I need a coach to help me communicate? Well, if you want to be in a position of leadership in our friend Chris Harrington, just amazing communicator, CEO of Gen Alpha Technologies, at any level that you're at, it's just so important to really step up your communication game. I'm going to throw another little curveball at you. So hopefully you're not uncomfortable with this. So we're part of a group together. I have the honor, privilege. We're in this little wonderful mastermind. I get to meet with Rosemary every 2 weeks. And today's our first time meeting each other in person. It's just such a privilege.
We're really here in person.
We're here in person. This is great. And so you shared, big thing. We're still, newish into 2023, and everybody has their word of the year. And Damon, we've been talking about a couple of different things, right? How do you become courageously uncomfortable? Mm-hmm. How do you become courageously comfortable, get out of your comfort zone? And we talk all the time about radical gratitude, right? How can you be in just a deep, radical gratitude? You shared a really powerful word. Are you comfortable sharing your word of the year? Do you remember? I think we talked a few weeks ago about your word.
About resilience?
Resiliency for 2023, right? Was that your word?
No, there was actually another word that now I'm forgetting what it was, because you caught me off guard. But that was my word for last year, resilience.
Yeah.
And it was more profound than resilience. It was speaking my truth.
Speaking her truth, and I tell you, it was very inspiring.
Speaking my truth.
Can you talk about that a little bit? And the word will come to us, but what you shared was just very powerful, very inspiring about how you're trying to attack. You're coming into 2023 with just a vigor, Can you just talk a little bit about like your goals for the
Yes,
year?
yeah, but speaking the truth is those aren't the exact words, but it was the idea being doing what I love and staying on course with the work I'm doing in executive speaker coaching, and also becoming a speaker, which is something that, even though I've done live television and hosted and run press conferences and done tons of media interviews, I want to speak for myself. I want to speak in my own voice. I want to tell my stories. And that's what I aim to do this year. It's very comfortable for me to be behind the scenes, to get you ready to deliver that great speech.
Right.
And then bask in your glow of success.
Right.
But I want to also do the talking and addressing the audience. And doing both, I think, is really going to enrich my life, because I'm doing both. And I have to have the courage to come out with my signature speech, which is about stuttering, because I was a stutterer for most of my life.
Can you believe that? Is
Well,
that astounding? Like,
and it's the title of the talk, the in development, is from terror to treasure.
Terror to treasure.
How I lost my stutter and found my voice, which
Awesome.
is a metaphor. Stuttering is a metaphor for what holds us back, whatever it may be for every individual. And I was a stutterer really badly in my teen years. It continued into college, into my early 30s, and I lost it by sheer willpower, because voice therapy and specialists in stuttering never really helped. The microphone helped me. Doing radio in college, speaking to a microphone, because it was like death, life or death. I had to do it correctly. And there was another layer of need, of commitment, of terror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to do it right. So I subsequently did a lot of vocal coaching, and found that by taking certain breaths into words that trip me, sounds that trip me, how to avoid blocks in speech, and clear enunciation, sounding out every vowel, every part of a word helped me get through it. There was and it's the way many people have done it, yet stuttering is something that affects close to 2% of the population on Earth, and it's something that we need to embrace, that people with a stutter are our neighbors, our friends, they're our mentors, they're our teachers, they are vital members of the community. They have a different speech pattern, that's all.
Gosh, I mean, that's why we went there, David. That was just how inspiring. And so the thing is, look how that ties in so perfectly with being courageously uncomfortable. You know, just coming in, just like stepping out of your comfort zone, just coming in, you know, again, like that resiliency, that just relentless belief in yourself. And, you know, and I just appreciate, you know, you sharing that with us. And I felt like I recognize like how often I am speaking when I'm like with Rosemary. Like, she's so articulate and such a gifted, great orator, right? Just such a great communicator. And then when I found out, she was like, "Oh yeah, I was a stutterer." I'm like, "What? Well, like when? Like when did this happen?" And like to overcome that, it's just like I can't understand like what a massive accomplishment that is. So, you know, round of applause to you.
Thank you. But let me clarify something. Once a stutterer, always a stutterer. It's always there. And I have to say, there's sometimes when I'm in front of a big audience or doing a large webinar, I do feel that tinge coming back. It doesn't go away, but you learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, it's there are many people who are covert stutterers who know how to get around it. They know how to avoid certain words. Or take deep breaths into something, or break words into their syllables. Right. But it never really goes away. Right. So.
And I think, Dana, I don't know what you think about this, but just, you know, like when you think about like, oh, you know, the imposter syndrome, or I'm not this, you know, I'm not tall enough, good enough, big enough, small enough, whatever your what if thing is, right? but you just, like when you just take it on, and you're like, this is not going to stop me. This is not going to prevent me. I'm not going to, not pursue being a gifted one of the top speaking coaches on the circuit because of this ailment, which really, like when you think about it, right? Kind of like me being a barber, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
First being a barber.
He does a good job, actually.
I'm doing a good job. So, all right. So let's go here. Any other myths that we want to talk about on your list?
Yes. There's a couple more.
Yep.
One of them is that professional speakers are not afraid. They've lost their fear of speaking. True or false?
Oh, that's false. That's false.
Did he get it?
Yes.
I mean, if they're lying. They're lying.
They're lying.
They're not.
You gotta find a tough one.
What do they say? 90% of people are terrified of public speaking. The other 10 are liars.
Yeah.
Like that? Isn't there a line like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it a coin by Mark Twain?
Was it Mark Twain?
Yes. If anybody tells you that they don't fear public speaking, they're liars.
90% are horrified by it. The other 10 are liars.
And it came from Mark Twain, who in his lifetime was one of the foremost orators on earth.
Right.
And it's curious because it's about dealing with the fear.
Mm-hmm.
You need a certain amount of fear,
Mm-hmm.
a certain amount of anxiety, excitement.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my clients, I just embrace the word nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Turn that nervousness into excitement.
Right.
So when you say to me, I'm nervous, no,
Right.
you're excited.
Right.
Because you are. You have those butterflies going on in your stomach, and you have like a tingling sensation in your body. And there may be things like a dry mouth, and there may be shaking of hands, or maybe things that are visible to other people. But generally, you can control those.
Right.
Control those. For example, if your hand is shaking, hold on to something. Hold on to the lectern. Hold on to your paper. Hold on to a paper. No, because paper flutters.
Right.
Hold on to the microphone with both hands. But professional speakers deal with it, and it's important. It's almost like having a coffee rush, like a caffeine rush.
Mm-hmm.
And what does it do? It prods you into better performance. And that happens with athletes as well, right? You're all pumped up.
Yeah.
What does Tony Robbins do before he talks? He goes on stage. Have you seen his Netflix?
Yeah, he jumps up and down.
On a trampoline.
Yeah.
Trampoline,
Yeah. He goes nuts. You know, he's all, his body's all pumped up. And then when he goes out there, he's
Right.
It's similar. I mean, he's trying to sort of bring it on steroids, but generally that enhances what you do in front of other people.
Right. Okay. Damon, I've lost track of time. Comments. Any guys?
Any questions?
Oh yeah.
Are there any questions in the comments here? Any?
Wendy's talking about the ambivert. We were trying to figure out what's in the
ambivert.
middle
Thank
of
you,
it.
Whitney.
Ambivert.
Thank
And
you. Whitney's down in Houston. Thank you,
Yes.
Whitney. We got
Yeah,
Chris.
Christina.
Very inspiring, Rosemary. Thank you, Chris. I'd love for you two to connect sometime.
Yeah.
And Diane's here today. So all
Yeah.
right, we'll start winding down. I guess I think we're public speaking. I shake. Diane,
Yeah, shakes. And that's, that's me. I still to this day, and I'm not a public speaker in any sense of the word. When you have to speak to 150 people in a manufacturing setting, trying to, good, bad news, indifferent,
right.
You do have those butterflies. You do. It makes your stomach turn the first few times. And for me, the thing that I've always used is said, first of all, if you see me shaking, it's because I'm nervous out here.
Yeah.
And I get it right out on the table. I say, it's like
people will relate to that because
Right.
they've
Yeah.
been there too.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Because it's like there's no hiding it with me.
Right. It's like, well, when the thing is we're blessed with introverts that come on our show. And just this past Monday, 5 days ago, we had somebody from one of the MEPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dear friend. And as we're totally out of her comfort zone when I invited her on the show, like she had like that look of terror,
Yes.
like, and she, got courageously uncomfortable, came on the program. And what did she tell us before she went live? She's like, I think I'm going to throw up.
Yeah. She had a trash can.
And how many lives have you've done 400. So, I mean, it's, now it's like second nature to you, but for other people that haven't done it before, like it can be nerve wracking. It can be overwhelming, intimidating. And so again, like getting out of that comfort zone. And so, we're all in this together, think about like a fear or something that you're trying to overcome. And what a great time right here, right now to like, let's take that fear right on
Yes.
bust through it.
Substitute the word nervous for excited.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yes.
And let me just say one thing about what we're doing here, that we're on virtual. This is not going to go away. Some people had thought early this year that, last year mostly, no, we don't have to worry about video conferencing anymore. I don't have to put my camera on anymore. I mean, we're done with this. No, this is an integral part of the way we do business today. Mm-hmm. There's a hybrid thing. Some people will choose to come on a call, a video call. Others will prefer to be in person. Some people will still remain in remote, and they have to be, brought into the conference room. You have to learn how to deal with both audiences, those who are in front of you and those who are at home. Where do you look? How do you make everybody feel included and important? And so those are new skills that we have to step up and learn.
Yes. Absolutely. So, and I'll tell you firsthand, having the privilege of being part of Rosemary's circle and her world and her energy, I feel I have a long way to go. So anything that you find positive is thanks to Rosemary, Coach Rosemary. Anything negative, I'm still working on. That's all on me. But if you're out there and you're like, boy, I'd really like to step up my game. You just the authentic, genuine, kind, gracious, humble, everything that you can think of is our dear friend Rosemary.
Yes.
And she is just an absolute rock star, expert at this. And just, the tips and the strategies. And again, back to like my Tom Brady analogy. Why on earth? Why does Tom Brady need 8 different coaches? Why do I need a coach on how to communicate better? It's like, boy, just look how much further that you can take yourself. I
want to say something to that.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady's announcement of his retirement, it wasn't done at a press conference.
Yeah.
He just did it on his mobile, on, I don't know if it was Instagram or TikTok, but he just spoke from his heart.
Yeah.
And that I thought was the most elegant, really, consistent with his style, his brand. That's what he's known for.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so fitting. It closed his career that way.
I agree 100%. So, all right, let's start winding down. I know everybody's got a busy Friday coming into the great weekend here. So, all right, here's another curveball for you. Are you ready? So, hey, Damon, first off, I want to thank everybody out there today for joining us.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I give a huge thank you to Rosemary. But before we wind down, so we talked about hero. Who was your hero growing up? My last question for you is going to be 2023. You're coming in with just this great attitude, just a high level of goals for 2023. Who or what is your inspiration for 2023? Who or what do you feel is like just your driving force or your inspiration for 2023?
That's a difficult one. I have several, and they might get a little political, so I'm not going to answer. That. Truthfully, I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to say my grandchildren.
And we were just talking about, so she has a 5 and an 8-year-old grandson. They're in Oakland, California. So let's
they are my inspiration because I feel that everything I do for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To be a role model, to be their guiding light.
Yeah.
And they are both very articulate.
Yeah.
They have tremendous verbal skills, and they are they're thought leaders already.
Yeah.
Even though one is in kindergarten and the other was in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And it's just they inspire me.
Yep.
And sometimes when we're together and we're reading stories together, there's just some way of looking at the world that's very different that just inspires me. So they are my inspiration.
Well, what a great answer there. And she, doesn't look old enough to be a grandmother, does she? So, but hey, and your grandchildren's names?
Morrison and Vega.
Nice.
Vega, like the second brightest star in the solar system, is Vega, second to the sun. Just a little tidbit.
Nice.
So she is a shining light.
Awesome. So, all right. Well, Damon, it never disappoints when you just get a little dose of Rosemary, does it?
It does not.
Thank you.
So we've got a long way to go, but we're getting there, right? We're eager learners, and we're trying to. That's why we bring her on to help
Damon's
step up our game.
He got all the answers right.
He did. I think you were 5-0, man. That was very impressive, by the way.
Just because I can answer the questions doesn't mean I'm good at something.
Oh, you're so modest. So, last parting words of wisdom, anything that you want to share with everybody before we're grabbing?
Drink water.
Hey, she's gonna drink water, drink plenty of water. You're out there. Hydrate hydrate. As a matter of fact, in her newsletter, let me go back to her newsletter, why she's hydrating. Rosemary has a phenomenal newsletter. I read it religiously every week. It's just great, powerful tips, strategies on how to be a better communicator. If you're doing public speaking, she'll share things like what you should eat. As a matter of fact, I now pay attention. Like I'd eat a power bar before you and I would do our show. And then I'm choking on my power bar. So now I'll eat a banana or something that, goes down a little smoother, So
there you go.
So any parting last words of wisdom for everybody as we wind down?
Dave is giving me his cold.
Yeah, we got the old cough coming across.
Just don't take it for granted. Look at everything that you learned about speaking. You can apply to your family life, and to your community relations, to every member of your family. And it's so important to be consciously communicating. Conscious. Be aware of everything you say. Take a 5-second pause before you say something if you're in disagreement or you're angry. This is saying that the biggest speech that you will ever regret is the one that you give when you're angry. So you can't take it back. And look at how much conflict happens in the world when people are speaking from anger.
Yeah.
Just take that 5-second pause.
Count to 10. Count to 10.
Count to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
It seems like an eternity, but it's actually 5 is a good number.
Right. Well, they say, whatever you're angry about, write it in the sand, let the wave kind of take it away. So, all right, wait, we'll wind down on this. So, Damon, what a gift, what a blessing. So, hey, guys, anybody out there, do us a favor, connect with Rosemary on LinkedIn. You want to check her out, sign up for her newsletter. You're going to step up your game tremendously. You'll thank Damon and I later for this. How about if you've been sitting down, how about everybody give a stand and let's give a roaring round of applause for Rosemary.
For everyone.
So thank you.
And everyone who's been live and connected to us. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
Guys, thank you for joining us. And thank you. This is just such a special occasion. This was so great. I dropped her a note. I'm visiting her community. And I was like, hey, I'm going to be in town. Could we get together? And we've known each other for a couple of years now. And she was like, oh, absolutely. And then I put her on the spot. I was like, hey, you want to do a LinkedIn Live with Damon and I? And she was like, oh, of course I do. I'm all in. So, hey, we got Lisa here today. Lisa, thank you for joining us. Lisa's in Michigan. So, Lisa, I'm here with my friend Rosemary. You definitely want to connect. Lisa's phenomenal. She's with a manufacturer in Indiana.
She's asking where to get to the news, subscribe to the newsletter too.
Oh, something else very quickly. There's no such thing as a dull speech, because many people who are manufacturing might say, well, what I do is so technical, or it's dull. It's sort of inside baseball. It's not about the speech. It's about doing it from a dull perspective. It's a dull speaker delivers a dull speech. It's not the other way around.
Right.
So you can have any subject. And I make reference in the newsletter to a very famous TED Talk from someone who did his talk about how to tie your shoelaces. 4.5 million views. How to tie your shoelaces. But he did it in an imaginative way.
With an enthusiasm.
Right? With love for the topic. Yep. So there you go.
So, and how can they find the newsletter?
RosemaryRavinal.com. Just opt in to or download any of my PDFs. I have PDFs on executive presence and how to do presentations, how to do a podcast. I have a PDF you can download for free. So once you get into my inner circle in all those ways, you'll be automatically subscribed to my newsletter.
Yep, absolutely. So connect with Rosemary here on LinkedIn. From LinkedIn, you can just hop right into her website. And again, sign up for that newsletter. You guys will absolutely love it. So
whoa, we had Kurt dropped off there. So we're having some technical difficulties, but I just want to say thank you, everyone, for being here today. Kurt and Rosemary in the same spot was awesome. And I didn't even know what to say here. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Have a great weekend. Kurt and I say goodbye for today, and we'll be back again next week.